Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review series for the 10th of August, 1985. We're probably going to finish up 1985 in the next day or two. We have over 150 episodes available for you to check out. Relatively basic episode this time around. Pat Rose and Tommy Pritchard versus the Fantastics. Fantastics, of course, Fulton and Rogers, who have been here before. They've been here for quite a while. Fantastics are multi-time tag team champions in the area and probably one of the better teams in the 80s and early 90s. I think they might even get a little bit undervalued. They take notoriety more towards 86 or so when the switch over to the UWF name takes place, which I believe is in early 86. Anyway, this team obviously working together quite flawlessly. They are certainly willing to do whatever they can to get ahead. And as mentioned, they're former tag team champions. Lots of yelling by Bill Dundee. Dundee gets sent out. He's trying to make humiliations. Of course, Bill Dundee at this point also the booker for the territory, and so there's a little bit of leverage there. Fulton takes the arm of Pritchard. Pritchard, of course, later a member of the Heavenly Bodies, later a member of the Body Donnas. But here, Tom Pritchard, probably one of the underrated guys in terms of, when you think about him training Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, Kurt Angle, Mark Henry, and so many others over the years. But I think he made his bigger mark as a trainer maybe than he did career-wise on a national level. Anyway, hip toss by Rogers. Rogers comes in for a moment, and then the heels cut off Bobby Fulton, who comes in again. Fulton, I believe, struggling with cancer and having COVID right now, so thoughts go out to him for those that are interested in kind of keeping abreast of what's going on with their favorite 80s stars. And shoulder tackle by Rose. Rose doesn't get all he wants on that. Big hip toss again by Fulton. Fulton gets beat down by Rose a bit. Rose is a guy who kind of, I think, does a bit of journeyman work throughout the various territories. Doesn't really get the full notoriety of the career he wants, but does enough to kind of get ahead a little bit over the years. And then we see kind of the crank up on the arm. Staying on the arm is Rogers again. Rogers gets thrown to the outside, actually brought in by Bill Dundee. Dundee whipping alongside or holding while Dirty Dutch Mantell whips Bobby Fulton. So kind of an angle started between the Memphis boys. They're superstar Bill Dundee in a fuchsia jumpsuit, who takes more of a wrestling role now than he had in the past, facing Bobby Fulton, one half of the Fantastics here. And again, Fulton makes his way down. Obviously, that's off the heels of that particular match. Fulton making his way around and certainly making friends with the ladies at ringside. He's a bit of a ladies' man. I believe they actually did. Did they do Sharp Dressed Man at this point? That might have been the Fabulous Ones. But I know they did kind of the rock song thing too. Anyway, Bill Dundee, a smaller guy, obviously, kind of one of the innovators for smaller guys in the 70s and 80s. Mid-South, one of the few territories he worked outside of Australia and the Memphis region. Of course, later he would work WCW, but, certainly Bill Dundee had a very interesting niche as far as people that would book him. Cinch up on the arm by Fulton. Fulton manages to go after the arm for several minutes. It actually stays on the arm. Really basic match. That's all it needs to be, though, because they're kind of building towards this tag feud, which Dutch Mantell finally getting something more to do than the television championship with the Snowman is also helpful here. You're kind of moving him along, and you're moving along through stories. And again, Fulton manages again to get his hair pulled, kind of gets pulled up, and ultimately kind of goes in that direction. Again, hard shot out of the corner with a barely comfortable um, Bill Dundee. Dundee, kind of holding the injured arm in, hits jabs along the way, doesn't really get all he wants with it, but gets enough, has a bit of an advantage. Irish whip by Fulton out of the corner, hits a back elbow, and Fulton does the old goofy 10, or attempts the 10 punches in the corner spot, hits about 2 or 3 of those, gets kicked back. Referee gets a shot to the face and gets taken out, bombs away from the top rope, an illegal move by Dundee, but the referee comes back around as he just got a backhand to the face, was able to recover, and Bill Dundee gets a victory there. Murdoch, looking back at Lord Humongous, basically admits that facing Humongous probably one of the most challenging things that he'd ever done. He got dominated in the match, bear hugs and the like. We kind of had seen this match prior, but Dick Murdoch certainly probably the most challenged that he's ever been in that match, and we kind of see, Murdoch, not a guy who per se is going to complain about a lot, but he gets, kind of really dominated. Of course, Humperdinck is the one that brings in Humongous using his power advantage on Murdoch. Murdoch has been a powerful guy for the last, 20 plus years, and back into the 60s, and so, hard shots by Murdoch, but Humongous, who is basically standing and brawling with him, certainly has an advantage. Humongous sends him to the outside, splits him open in the process. Bleeding Dick Murdoch gets extra sympathy from the fans. Tough guy fans who aren't exactly looking for anything other than Murdoch to bring it as hard as he can, and certainly that's a bit of a challenge. And the bear hug and really basic moves by the Humongous, and then kind of that Cobra Clutch style chokeout gets a victory for him. Then we go to a live TV match, or a more traditionalized TV match. Mark Reagan against Lord Humongous. Reagan, of course, has been a enhancement talent, maybe a little bit more than that with Brickhouse Brown upon occasion, but obviously he's not the main event guy. Humongous, of course, flanked by partner, manager Oliver Humperdinck. Misses a couple of, or hits a couple of drop kicks, doesn't get what he wants on him. Very basic maneuvers, lots of brawling by Humongous. Humongous with modified slam, gets the man back up and, punches him right under the chin, gets things going, and then with that chokeout submission style hold, the Nightmare and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert go at it. It was Gilbert who brought the Nightmare in, so this is a little bit of a departure from, I guess, what you'd consider comfortable or whatever have you. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert kind of now, I don't know if I'd call him a babyface, but more of a babyface than he was, partially because of the treachery of Sir Oliver Humperdinck. Power moves by the former North American champion, the Nightmare, otherwise at the time known as the champion. I actually don't know if he's former quite yet. I do know that Gilbert kind of slides behind and he hits a couple of shots, drop kick under the jaw, and certainly Eddie Gilbert comes off, hits a drop kick right as the Nightmare is re-entering the ring, but the Nightmare uses power, sends Gilbert into the top turnbuckle, and not the least bit intimidated by Eddie Gilbert. We see, several bear hugs by the Nightmare. Nightmare manages to come down on him and eventually hit a back chin lock. Real basic stuff from the Nightmare. Nightmare, a big guy, doesn't need to do a heck of a lot. Gilbert, who honestly is probably one of the better and more underrated bookers during the, let's say, 86, 87 to the end of his life area across many different regions. Of course, he died in Puerto Rico in 1995. Probably very sad, because a return to ECW would have been an interesting run, I think, for Eddie Gilbert. Not that I didn't think it would have been allowed, but anyway, needless to say, Nightmare picks up a win. Jim Duggan is back against Carl Styles, and Duggan obviously has been probably one of the biggest mainstays in the Mid-South area. Big body slam by Duggan. Threatened the three-point stance, shoulder tackle, boom, out the corner, and Duggan gets a quick victory there. Main event or final match of the day. I can't really call it a main event because of the level of combatants. Golden Boy Jerry Gray, Wendell Cooley. Of course, Jerry Gray has had over the last several years many health-related problems, and he does have a GoFundMe if you are the type to want to support guys that entertained you over the years who are having health-related issues. Not that I'm advising you to do that, just that the option is there should you decide that you would like to do that. Anyway, Wendell Cooley, who in Mid-South doesn't really find a huge benefit, but Cooley manages to go for a couple of shots and jump kick from the outside. There's the arena-based show there. And then we close with, on that note, kind of, some hype for future events. And ultimately, we kind of see Mid-South as a major thing. Obviously, Cooley trying to keep down, or Jerry Gray trying to keep Cooley down, and they wrestle over top wrist lock. Nothing major here. Basically, a standby, almost enhancement talent match is what they have. Gray keeps his adversary on the ground quite a bit. Uses the reverse chin lock and other very basic maneuvers to keep control of the match for the majority of the match. And then we kind of go to the close of the contest. And I think actually this is one of the ones where there is no finish. Pretty sure on that. As we close the area there. And Watts is known to do that. But anyway, we will be back with more right after this.